Hey loves, welcome back to Scarlet Shadow Notes. So, I've been thinking a lot lately about those weird little moments that make you pause. You know the ones. I see a song on repeat, a number keeps popping up, a message lands at the exact moment I need it, or maybe something completely chaotic happens and I think, okay, universe, what are you trying to tell me? Sometimes life throws us breadcrumbs like that. Little nudges that feel like synchronicities, and other times it just feels like the universe is messing with us, laughing as we scramble to figure it out. But there's beauty in both. The comfort of noticing a pattern and the chaos that reminds you that life is alive, unpredictable, and totally wonderfully messy. I'll admit, I've gotten a little obsessed at times with noticing these patterns. Sometimes Lucifer decides my keyboard is his throne at the exact moment a song I've been thinking about comes on, and I think, yep, definitely a sign. And maybe it's not, but it makes me pause, and it makes me feel seen. Like, even in the noise, there's rhythm. Even in the chaos, there's connection. And that, loves, is a kind of magic worth noticing. So, let me tell you about a day that recently really made me notice how little nudges show up in life. I was outside sitting on the porch, watching the morning light spill across the yard, the dew on the grass, the wind through the trees, the way the sunlight hit just so. Tiny things I usually barely notice. I had my earbuds in, listening to a playlist, when a song I had been thinking about all week started playing at exactly that moment. Not just any song. It's one that carries a memory I can't quite shake. A feeling that is quietly mine. I stopped everything and just let myself feel it. Just a moment of presence in the middle of a normal day. Later, I went about the usual work around the house. I was checking on the dogs, tidying things, doing ordinary rhythms that make up most days. And then out of nowhere, a friend sent me a text that felt like it landed just when I needed it. Words I didn't know I needed, and yet they hit perfectly. It made me pause and smile, like a little invisible hand was saying, I see you. Even the chaos around me added to the pattern. Lucifer, of course, claimed my keyboard the second I stepped away. Sunny barked at a squirrel outside, and baby Dahlia insisted on jumping into whatever I was doing. But even in all that noise, there was a rhythm. I started noticing the small things. The way the wind moved in the branches, the way the sunlight caught a leaf, the little birds hopping across the yard. Each tiny observation became part of the same message. Life is here, and it's pointing to something if you're paying attention. Later in the day, I went to check the mail. A piece of paper fluttered out, and the date on it made me do a double take. Not because it was important in itself, but because it echoed something I'd been thinking about all morning. Coincidence? Maybe. But it made me pause again. I realized that even in the quietest, most ordinary moments, life keeps leaving me breadcrumbs. Some days you'll only see one or two. Other days they pile up in a way that feels almost like the universe is winking at you. The beauty in these synchronicities isn't in proving that they're real or assigning them cosmic importance. It's in noticing them. It's in letting yourself feel that pause, that connection, that little sense of meaning. Even when life is messy, loud, or unpredictable, these small moments remind you that there's a rhythm, there's a presence, there's a magic in the ordinary, and you're part of it. Now let's talk about something that can be tricky. How do you tell a sign from a coincidence? Life throws little nudges at us all the time. Sometimes it's a song, sometimes a repeated number, sometimes a text from a friend at exactly the right moment. Our brains are wired to notice patterns. That's how we survive. But when you really pay attention, those patterns can start to feel like magic. And here's the thing. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need a cosmic certificate to confirm it's real. What matters is how it makes you feel. Does it spark hope, comfort, curiosity, or maybe anxiety? That feeling, the emotional nudge, is the message. Even if the event itself is random, your reaction is what counts. Let me give you a few examples from my own life. One afternoon, I was doing dishes, thinking about a decision I'd been putting off. I saw a bird land on the fence right outside the window, just staring for a few minutes before it flew away. In that pause, I felt this strange clarity, a sense of calm that I hadn't all morning. Was it a sign? Maybe. Was it a coincidence? Probably. But noticing it and letting myself feel the moment gave me the clarity I wouldn't have had if I had rushed past. Another time, I was working inside and Lucy decided once again that the keyboard was his throne. If you haven't noticed, this is a constant fight with this cat. As chaotic as that was, I caught a glimpse of the sunlight through the window, casting long shadows across the floor. Something about the pattern, the light, and the absurdity of the situation made me laugh and pause. It reminded me that life is full of tiny signals, some obvious, some subtle, that encourage us to slow down and take stock. Sometimes the signs are internal rather than external. You feel a pull, a gut instinct, or a thought that keeps resurfacing. That's a form of synchronicity too. Your mind, your intuition, and your awareness, they're all part of a system sending messages. Paying attention doesn't guarantee answers, but it guarantees awareness, and awareness is power. Over time, I've realized that the more I notice, the more these little nudges appear. They don't always tell me what to do, and they certainly don't control my life, but they remind me to stay present. They remind me that even in chaos, even in a quiet rural yard, life is full of patterns and messages if we take time to notice. And sometimes that's enough. Because the truth is, the line between coincidence and sign isn't important. What matters is what it teaches you about being present, being aware, and trusting yourself. Life doesn't hand us a guidebook, loves, but it does hand us breadcrumbs. And if we follow them, even just a little, we start to see rhythm and connection that runs under the surface of our everyday lives. There was one evening not long ago when I was out on the porch just after sundown. The sky was this mix of soft pinks and deep purples, and I could hear the dogs settling in somewhere in the house. I had been thinking about a conversation I had had earlier that day. Something small, but it had stuck with me. And then, as if on cue, a single firefly floated right into my line of sight and hovered for a few seconds, blinking its tiny light. I don't know if it was a sign or if it was just a firefly doing firefly things, but in that moment, I felt this gentle pause in the world. Everything slowed down. I noticed my own breathing. I noticed how alive even the quietest parts of life are. I realized that sometimes the universe doesn't need to shout to give you a clear message. Sometimes it just whispers. And the magic is in noticing the whisper, letting yourself feel it, and letting it remind you, you're here, you're alive, you're paying attention. And that, loves, is really the heart of it. Signs and coincidences aren't about proving anything. They're about connection, awareness, and presence. They teach us to slow down, notice the ordinary, and find little threads of meaning woven through everyday life. All right, loves. Now that we've talked about everyday synchronicities, signs versus coincidence, let's get practical. How do you notice these little nudges in your own life without overthinking or stressing about them? Here's what I've learned. Start with awareness. The first step is simply noticing. Take a moment to pay attention to the world around you. Listen to the sounds of your yard. Feel the wind on your skin. Notice what crosses your path, be it a bird, a number, a message, or even a firefly. Awareness is the gateway to noticing patterns. Notice the feeling. Signs aren't external. They show up as feelings too. Pay attention to what arises inside you when something stands out. Is it calm, joy, hope, curiosity, anxiety? The emotion is the real message. Record them. Keep a small notebook or your phone handy. Jot down coincidences, unusual occurrences, or patterns that catch your attention, even if it seems insignificant in the moment. Looking back over time can reveal a rhythm that you wouldn't have noticed otherwise. Lean into intuition. Trust your gut. Sometimes the universe, or your awareness, nudges you towards something without spilling it out. Give yourself permission to follow that pull, even if it's just a pause, reflect, or breathe. Keep it simple. Synchronicities don't need to be elaborate or life-changing to be meaningful. A firefly blinking at the right moment, a bird landing nearby, a perfectly timed message from a friend. These tiny threads are enough. Be playful. Don't let it become stressful or obsessive. Approach it with curiosity and lightness. Part of the magic is in noticing it and enjoying it, not in analyzing it until it loses its wonder. Then reflect on patterns over time. Maybe after a week or a month, glance back at your notes. You might see threads connecting events, moments, or feelings. Sometimes the pattern is obvious. Other times it's subtle. Either way, it reminds you that life is quietly full of connection, even when it feels chaotic. Remember, loves, this isn't about predicting the future or proving anything. It's about noticing, slowing down, and feeling the rhythm of your own life. The little nudges, coincidences, and signs are just reminders that you are here, alive, and paying attention. And sometimes that's all the magic you need. So, loves, we've talked about noticing the little nudges, coincidences, and synchronicities in your life. The truth is, you don't need a cosmic certificate or a guidebook to make sense of them. You just need to notice, feel, and reflect. Next time you see a firefly in your yard, hear a song that sparks a memory, or get a message that it lands at exactly the right moment, pause. Let yourself feel it. Let yourself be present. Even the smallest things can remind you that life has rhythm, connection, and quiet magic woven through it. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to keep building these moments with me, follow the show on Spotify or YouTube so you never miss an episode. If you want to support what I do directly, stop by my coffee at coffee.com/shadow and sass. Notice the little things this week, loves. They might be whispering something you need to hear, or maybe they're just reminding you that you're alive. You're here, and that in itself is kind of magic.